Welcome, music lovers. Join us as we delve into the remarkable life and career of one of heavy metal's most iconic figures, Ronnie James Dio. From his early days with bands like Rainbow and Black Sabbath to the formation of his own band Dio, his powerful vocals and lyrical wizardry left an indelible mark on the world of rock and metal. So let's dive in. Ronnie James Dio, born Ronald James Padavona on July 10, 1942 in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in the United States of America, where his family lived during his father's service in the U.S. Army. His parents Patrick and Anna were from Italian-American ancestry and were originally from Cortland, New York, where they returned whilst Dio was still very young. Growing up, Dio was heavily influenced by opera, especially the vocal stylings of American tenor Mario Lanza. His musical journey began at age 5 with trumpet lessons, and he quickly became involved in his high school's band program. A talented musician, he joined the official dance band, showcasing his skills on the trumpet. During high school, he ventured into rock and roll, forming the Vegas Kings, later renamed Ronnie and the Rumblers and then Ronnie and the Redcaps. Initially a trumpeter, Dio expanded his repertoire to include singing and took on bass guitar duties for his evolving musical ventures. Dio's academic journey took various turns after graduating from Cortland High School in 1960. Despite being offered a scholarship to the prestigious Juilliard School of Music, he declined the opportunity, driven by his passion for rock music. Opting for a different path, Dio enrolled at the University at Buffalo with a major in pharmacology. During his time there, he played the trumpet in the university's concert band. However, his venture into higher education was short-lived, as he attended the university only from 1960 to 1961 and did not complete his degree. Subsequently, Dio explored Cortland State College but, much like his previous academic pursuits, he decided to discontinue his studies. Despite his powerful and distinctive singing voice, he asserted that he never underwent any formal vocal training. Surprisingly, he credited his singing prowess to the breathing techniques he acquired during his earlier years of playing the trumpet. Dio's musical journey kicked off in 1957 with the formation of the Vegas Kings in Cortland, New York. Initially, Dio played bass guitar in the band, featuring Billy DeWolf on lead vocals, Nick Pantis on guitar, Tom Rogers on drums, and Jack Mushy on saxophone. After a series of name changes, including Ronnie and the Rumblers and Ronnie and the Redcaps, the band experienced some lineup adjustments. In 1960, guitarist Dick Botoff joined, and the band released 2 singles. The first being Conquest and Lover, featuring an instrumental A-side reminiscent of the Ventures and a B-side with DeWolf on lead vocals. The second single, An Angel Is Missing, and What Did I Say, showcased Dio on lead vocals for both tracks. Dio's adoption of the stage name, Dio, has varied explanations. According to one account, Dio's grandmother asserted that he possessed a divine gift and should be called Dio, which means God in Italian. However, this claim was challenged by Dio's widow, Wendy, in a February 2017 interview. An alternative origin story suggests that the name, Dio, was inspired by Johnny Dio, a member of the Mafia, as later confirmed in Dio's autobiography. In 1960, Dio first used the name on a recording when he added it to the band's second release on Seneca. Subsequently, the group modified its name to Ronnie Dio and the Prophets, maintaining this lineup for several years, touring New York and performing at college fraternity parties. The band produced a single for Atlantic Records and an album. Some singles, like Mr. Misery, on Swan, were attributed to Ronnie Dio as a solo artist, even when other Prophets contributed to the recording. The Prophets released various singles until early 1967, with Dio using his birth name for songwriting credits on these releases. In late 1967, Ronnie Dio and the Prophets underwent a transformation, re-emerging as a new band named the Electric Elves, now featuring a keyboard player. However, tragedy struck in February 1968 when the band was involved in a fatal car accident that claimed the life of guitarist Nick Pantis and left Dio and the remaining members hospitalized. Following the harrowing incident, the group abbreviated its name to the Elves, maintaining it until mid-1972 when they released their inaugural album under the moniker Elf. Over the subsequent years, Elf found a niche as a regular opening act for Deep Purple. The band recorded 3 albums before its members became engrossed in the production of the first Rainbow album in early 1975, ultimately leading to Elf's disbandment. In the mid-1970s, Ronnie James Dio's compelling vocals captured the attention of Deep Purple guitarist Ritchie Blackmore, who was contemplating leaving Deep Purple due to creative differences. Blackmore invited Dio and Gary Driscoll to join him in recording 2 songs in Tampa, Florida, on December 12, 1974. Pleased with the collaboration, Blackmore decided to enlist more members from Elf, Dio's previous band, forming Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. They released their debut album, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, in early 1975. Dio continued to contribute to two more studio albums, Rising, 1976, and Long Live Rock and Roll, 1978, as well as live recordings. During his tenure with Rainbow, Dio and Blackmore remained the sole consistent members. However, they eventually parted ways, with Blackmore steering the band towards a more commercial direction with a different vocalist, Graham Bonnet, and the album, Down to Earth. Following his departure from Rainbow in 1979, Dio joined Black Sabbath, stepping into the shoes of the ousted Ozzy Osbourne. The collaboration between Dio and Sabbath's guitarist Tony Iommi was serendipitous, initiated by a chance encounter at the Rainbow on Sunset Strip in Los Angeles in 1979. Both musicians found themselves in transitional phases, with Dio seeking a new project and Iommi in need of a vocalist. Dio described their connection as almost fateful, stating, "It must have been fate, because we connected so instantly." The collaboration materialized quickly, and on the first day of their relaxed jam session at Iommi's Los Angeles home, they crafted the song, Children of the Sea. This track became part of the Heaven and Hell album, marking Dio's debut as the band's vocalist and released in 1980. The subsequent Black Sabbath album, Mob Rules in 1981, introduced new drummer Vinnie Appice to the lineup. However, as the band progressed, internal tensions started to surface. Tony Iommi reflected on Dio's initial compliance upon joining the band, stating, "Ronnie came into the band and he was doing whatever we told him, basically because he wanted the gig." The next album was a little different. In 1982, disputes arose during the mixing of the Live Evil album. Iommi claimed that in the evening, Dio would create his own mix, emphasizing his vocals, despite the work done during the day by the album's engineer, a claim Dio denied. This conflict ultimately led to Dio and Appice's departure from Black Sabbath later that year. Years later in 1991, Dio would reunite with Black Sabbath to produce the album Dehumanizer. Although not a blockbuster, the album achieved moderate success, reaching the top 40 in the United Kingdom and securing the 44th position on the US Billboard 200. The single, Time Machine, gained additional exposure when featured in the movie Wayne's World, a major hit in 1992. However, by the close of that same year, Dio and Appice once more would depart from the band, citing difficulties working with Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler. In 1982, Dio and Vinnie Appice, determined to sustain their musical partnership, founded the heavy metal band Dio. Alongside guitarist Vivian Campbell and bassist Jimmy Bain, Dio's longtime acquaintance from his Rainbow days, they released their eponymous debut album, Holy Diver, in 1983. The album featured hit singles such as Rainbow in the Dark and Holy Diver, which have since become iconic tracks synonymous with the band's identity. With the addition of keyboardist Claude Schnell, Dio continued their musical journey, releasing two more full-length studio albums, namely The Last in Line in 1984 and Sacred Heart in 1985. During the band's second world tour in 1984, a live recording titled, A Special from the Spectrum, was captured and released exclusively on VHS. Over the years, the lineup underwent changes, ultimately leaving Dio as the sole original member by 1990. Despite a few hiatuses, the band maintained a rigorous schedule of touring and recording, accumulating a total of 10 albums, with Master of the Moon being their final studio release in 2004. In October 2006, Dio reunited with Black Sabbath members Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and former Black Sabbath drummer Vinnie Appice to embark on a tour under the name Heaven and Hell, derived from the title of the first Black Sabbath album featuring Dio. The decision to use a distinct moniker was made because Iommi and Butler were concurrently active in Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne, and they wanted to distinguish the Dio version of the band. Although original Black Sabbath drummer Bill Ward was initially slated to participate in the project, he later withdrew from the lineup. In 2007, the reunited lineup recorded 3 new tracks under the Black Sabbath name, featured on the compilation album, Black Sabbath, The Dio Years. Following this, in 2008, they undertook an extensive 98-date world tour. Operating under the moniker Heaven and Hell, the band released an album titled, The Devil You Know, which received positive reviews and commercial success. Additionally, there were plans for a follow-up album in 2010. Throughout his career, Dio engaged in various musical projects beyond his iconic roles in bands. In 1974, he contributed vocals to the Roger Glover-conducted concept album The Butterfly Ball and The Grasshopper's Feast. Dio's vocal talents were also featured in Kerry Livgren's progressive rock album Seeds of Change in 1980. In 1985, he participated in the Hear and Aid Project, a heavy metal collaboration for charity, raising $1 million. Dio made a cameo in Pat Boone's unconventional album, In a Metal Mood, No More Mr. Nice Guy, in 1997. Additionally, he was parodied in the TV show South Park in 1999 and later embraced the portrayal. Tenacious D paid tribute to Dio in a song on their self-titled album, and Dio reciprocated by featuring Tenacious D in his music video. In 2005, Dio lent his voice to the character Dr. X in Operation Mindcrime 2, the sequel to Queensryche's concept album. Despite being unable to finish it, Dio's autobiography, Rainbow in the Dark, the autobiography, was posthumously completed by Wendy Dio and Mick Wall and published on July 27, 2021. His life is also the subject of the documentary, Dio, Dreamers Never Die, which premiered in 2022, providing a comprehensive look at his legendary career. Personally, Dio was married twice. Firstly to wife, Loretta Berardi, in 1963. The couple had one adopted son before ultimately divorcing in 1972. In 1978, Dio married Wendy Walters, the ex-wife of drummer Ainsley Dunbar and guitarist Riccardo Gaxiola, who would later become Dio's manager. During the 1980s, she managed several Los Angeles rock bands, including Rough Cut, New Haven, Cold Sweat, and Hellion. Although the couple separated, they did not officially divorce. After Dio's passing in 2010, Wendy Walters married her longtime partner Omar Jimenez in 2012. Health-wise, in September 2003, Dio faced a unique challenge when he accidentally severed his thumb in a gardening accident involving a heavy garden gnome. Worried that he might lose the ability to perform his iconic horns hand gesture, Dio sought medical attention, and fortunately, a doctor successfully reattached his thumb. Sadly, on November 25, 2009, Dio revealed that he had been diagnosed with stomach cancer and was commencing treatment at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas. This unfortunate health development led to the cancellation of all summer dates for Heaven and Hell, the band Dio was part of. His final live performance took place with Heaven and Hell on August 29, 2009, in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Tragically, Dio succumbed to the illness and passed away on May 16, 2010. 2 weeks after Dio's passing, a public memorial service took place at the Hall of Liberty in Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles. The hall reached full capacity, and numerous fans gathered outside, watching the memorial on giant screens. Friends, family, and fellow musicians, such as Rudy Sarzo, Jeff Tate, John Payne, Glenn Hughes, Joey Belladonna, and Heaven and Hell keyboard player Scott Warren, delivered speeches and performed in honor of Dio. The event included a documentary highlighting Dio's career, spanning from his early days with Elf to his final collaboration with Heaven and Hell. And there you have it. As we conclude this journey through the life of Ronnie James Dio, we remember the man who stood as a towering figure in the world of heavy metal. His music, lyrics, and stage presence will continue to inspire generations of fans for many years to come. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content just like this. Take care and bye for now.